Hello, friends. It's time for Talk Fort Dodge, the show that uncovers the stories behind the houses in the heart of our community. I'm Jeremiahjcondon.
And I'm Todd McCubbin, and today we are here with Jenn Becker from the Fort Dodge Play and Learn Center. But before we talk to Jenn, let's do a quick market update.
Market update. We have 99 active residential listings in the Fort Dodge area.
Nice. That's kind of been up and down a lot lately.
So. It has. We've had a lot of swings, which, right at mid-December, we had a lot of activity going on.
Oh, yeah, there was a lot.
And we got a lot of closings going on right now.
Yes, we do.
And we've had a lot more deals put together lately.
Yeah, you could tell kind of like New Year's. We talk about this. New Year's Day hits. It's quiet for a day or two. And then I think my phone rang more the weekend after New Year's than it did the entire month of December.
Yeah.
So it's getting busy fast, and people are getting used to the interest rates finally. I think people just know they're going to hover at that 6 to 7.
6.25 was the last we saw from one of our local lenders.
Yep. So kind of up and down. They're getting used to it. Know that, there might be a day in the future where you get that 3, 4, 5% again, but it's not going to be anytime soon.
And 2023 and 2024 were both pretty weird down years. And I was listening to a guy yesterday, and he said, and I agree, that because of the new administration coming in, there's going to be a lot of shuffling going on and a lot of news and a lot of activity, whether good, bad, indifferent, it really doesn't matter. There's just a lot of activity. And with that usually comes real estate booms.
Yep.
And I agree with that. You know?
Well, I think knowing the cap rate's not going to go back up, they wanted to raise that, it's going to stay where it's at. People are motivated to sell. They're not motivated to sell. Does that make sense? You're not paying this huge tax if you sell something, after so long, and you don't feel bad selling it and paying 18%, but paying 28% to sell something you've owned for 20 years is a lot.
Yeah. And I'd already say it's off to kind of a good start.
Yeah, I've been busy.
2025.
Yep.
So we're not usually this busy this time of year, but
this
we
fast.
are.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Yay. Featured house of the week, 424 North 20th Street here in Fort Dodge. It's in between St. Edmunds / Senior High and Snell Crawford Park.
Oh, yeah.
Great house, great area. It's like a double lot, 74 by 150. This house is in mint condition, and it just dropped to 187.5.
Nice, that's a deal.
It is. 3 bedrooms on the main. There's a downstairs, 2-car garage attached, a little breezeway, and it's like in mint condition. You walk in and you're just like, wow.
That's a nice neighborhood.
That's what I was going to say. Good area of town.
It is. My dad lives on that street just 2 blocks down.
Nice.
And loves it.
Perfect. So now for the best part of the show.
I don't know about that.
Jenn, can you introduce yourself and kind of tell us what you do?
Yeah, so I am a lifelong Fort Dodge resident, so excited to talk Fort Dodge today. Nice. I'm the program director for the Fort Dodge Play and Learn Center, so excited to speak about that today and spread the word.
Yay.
Awesome. Well, I am not, I do know my grandson Zeke went a couple of times with Deandra, but my wife set that up, and I didn't ask a lot of questions. I'm just like, go. So can you kind of describe what the Play and Learn Center is?
Yeah, so if you're familiar with children's museums, in bigger cities, it's kind of similar to that on a smaller scale. Basically, we offer play opportunities for children and families. So our most common or usual offering is called Open Play, where it's a 2-hour come-and-go session. Families can sign up to experience and come in and just freely play in the center. We also offer music classes. Once a month, we have a free postpartum play and connect group for caregivers and their babies. In the summer months, we offer play and learn at the park. And then coming up here in the winter months, we offer Super Saturday sessions, which we'll talk more about later. But yeah, that's kind of a cap of what we do.
So Open Play, you just drop your kids off and leave?
No, you stay with your kids. Man, it's a great opportunity to connect.
It was starting to sound even better there for a minute.
But
is there an age limit? Because Deandra's 25, I could take her.
Right. Usually it's like birth up to, I would say, my nephew's 9. He's come in and has fun. Starting to 10, 11 kind of age out. They're a little too cool to sit down and play with blocks. But we have seen older siblings come in and really engage with their younger siblings too. So
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Grandkids? Mm-hmm. Nice. Maybe I'll grab Zeke and go play.
And it's just a nice place. I'm sure you all feel this way. Sometimes when you're at home, you see the dishes, you see the laundry, you're pulled in a million directions, your work is right there. Not that some work follows us now on our phones, but it's just a little bit easier to be connected in the moment when you're there because you don't have all those chores, staring at you.
That's fun.
never had step when my kids were that age.
Well, and exactly, that's why when I became a mom, it was that's what sparked it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So this center opened in August of 2022.
Yes.
So how did you make the move from dreaming phase to what it is today?
Yeah, so my oldest was born in 2018, and that's where, like I said, the passion kind of came from. So I just very quickly, he turned a year in December of 2019, and having a 12 to 15 month old in the cold, long Iowa winter, very quickly realized we just didn't have places in our community to take that age. Now I can't pull him out of Fort Frenzy to save my life, and the library, they love going to the library now. But as a 12 to 15 month old, we just really didn't have a spot to take him, to let him be a kid. And so that's kind of where the dream started, and it just kind of ran with it from there. Dove into researching, reached out to tons of communities across Iowa, across the United States that were similarly sized to Fort Dodge, and basically sent emails, shot my shot. Yep. Some went unanswered, some led to conversations. So spoke to 10 different communities across Iowa, spoke to someone from Wyoming, West Virginia, basically just asked them, what advice do you have? What steps did you take? How can we make this happen here? And in preparation for today, looking back through my notes, which it's funny to look back and see like 30 pages of research from those days. But one of the stories that popped up for me as I was reviewing was this woman who said, she kind of wanted to give me a reality check. And she said, appreciate your passion. That was me too. But just kind of prepare yourself that this could take years. Your children will probably be teenagers before you see anything come to fruition for the fruits of your labor. And I appreciated, her realness with me, but also I thought to myself, but you don't know Fort Dodge. I've seen our community come together, good times and bad, in so many different ways. And I just knew that I didn't think that was going to be our story and timeline. And sure enough, 2020 was when this dream began, and it definitely came to fruition faster than that. So,
and I think passion has a lot to do with that, and also
a will
to get it done. And also, I think your dad called me about this when you were talking about it, and goes, "What do you think of this?" Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I think it's a great idea. I think it's something we need. It's something we don't offer at Fort Frenzy. Mm-hmm. And then knowing your dad and his connections, I'm sure that had a little bit.
Yeah. So and that's kind of so simultaneously while those conversations were happening, I was connected with Dawn Larson, the economic development specialist here in Fort Dodge. And so I'm sure maybe my dad's the one who made the introduction. I don't remember, but Dawn and I were having conversations, and she would keep eye out for locations. And so she was ultimately the person who connected me with Elizabeth Stonick at Linking Families and Communities. So if you're not familiar with that organization, they're a nonprofit that supports early childhood initiatives. So initially, they had a grant opportunity at the time. So Dawn helped me, and we put an application together. But then Elizabeth actually reached out after we submitted that, and she said, instead of just the funds, how about we sponsor this program? So instead of just receiving funds and putting them into a community foundation fund until we could take further action, we were able to start a lot sooner because the overhead and the space that we stumbled upon in the Wells Fargo building was all in connection with Linking Families. Their offices are in that building, and so they already were utilizing the space that we're in a different capacity at the time. So it kind of all just fell into place from there, and that was in the summer of 2022, and so spent the summer getting everything ready, and then had an open house and kind of a soft opening with a few families that had signed up to kind of work out the kinks, and then open to the public in the fall of 2022. So as I said, like looking back and remembering that story about someone telling me like, oh, your kids will be teenagers. It's like, no, actually my kids
I did pretty good.
Well, and like I said, that's our community. I mean, it wouldn't have been possible without Elizabeth's leadership, we had individuals and businesses stand up to donate and support. So it wouldn't have been possible without our community.
Oh, no, sure. We have great people. And you do see a lot of projects that the community gets behind it so well.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of people on here, talking about that same thing, about how and why we do the podcast, because Fort Dodge is a great place.
Yep, for sure.
Live, work, and play.
A lot of good things happening here.
What kind of a response have you received from the community since opening?
Truly, nothing but positive feedback. Obviously, we're always open to constructive feedback as well. So we've tried to adjust our days and times for what families want. We've added those new offerings. We started with just open play, and then kind of throughout the time we added music class, and then in 2024 we added the postpartum play and connect and the Super Saturday sessions. So we've tried to just kind of see a need and fill it as we can. I would say the one piece, people want us to be open more often than what we are. We aim to be open about 2 to 3 times a week, but we are run by volunteers, so we're limited by volunteer availability. So that's one piece that we haven't been able to fully, take initiative on yet, because we just don't have the team of people to do it yet. But that's an area that we hope to do in the future.
I have to say this: if somebody wants to volunteer, how do they do that?
Yes, so it's a really fun, easy thing to do, because it's one of those things where sometimes you don't want to commit to or overcommit yourself, right? And so what's great about this opportunity is that you share your as much or as little as you want to give, and then that's how I build the schedule. So right now we have a team of 8 volunteers, and they all just say, hey, I would be available on these days, and then that's how I kind of build the schedule around that. So you will never be scheduled on a time when you don't want to be scheduled.
And do you fill in on all the other times?
I try to not force myself to do, because there's so much going on elsewhere in my life. So I've gotten better at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes I do fill in the gaps usually. So if they're interested, they can reach out to our email, and it's a simple process. We just have an application and a background check, and then we go from there. But we're always looking to grow our volunteer team. So.
Oh, it looks like you're out.
I'm
background
out.
check.
Yeah, I'll never pass. It's been a lot of years since I had a top secret clearance.
What days are you open?
So we put out a seasonal schedule. So right now we're in our winter schedule, so it just kind of depends on the week. But typically we try to be open every Friday and Saturday that we can, because those are our most popular days. Families that work part-time or things like that, Fridays seem to be the day that most families want to come in and play. But we do sometimes have open days on Wednesdays and Thursdays as well. So usually it's Wednesday through Saturday, just depending on the week.
All right, I'm going off script. Family comes in.
Mm-hmm.
What's the first thing they do? Well, how's it set up? Just like from someone that knows nothing about it, and they bring their 2 or 3 kids, and they walk in.
So we check you in, and then you're just free to explore. So we have 5 different stations. The art station is the first one that you'll see when you walk in. So sometimes that catches kids' attention, and they sit down to do an art project. We have art, sensory station, engineering, movement, and imagination. So we try to kind of reach all kids with different interests. The engineering and the movement station typically stay the same week to week. We have blocks, magnetiles, Legos, a balance beam, things like that. But then the art, sensory, and imagination are changed week to week. So we have the same theme of play, but different materials. So in the art station, we might have paint one week, dot markers the next week. And so kids can have the opportunity to create the craft idea that we have, but we also just have the materials that they can create freely. It's not a space where we expect kids to sit down and no, you must make this lion, for example, that we have up as an example this week. They can also just draw whatever they'd like. The sensory station it's one of my favorite parts of the center, because kids love to play with sensory materials, beans, rice, water. But who wants that at their house, right? Nobody. So what we love to say to families is people will look at us and say, I'm so sorry the rice got dumped on the floor. And it's that's why we have it out, because that's what's going to happen. And we'd rather it happen here than have you,
Do you have
stressed
a bunch
about
of
it at
cardboard
home.
boxes just laying around?
Sometimes. They love that.
We'll go throw an Amazon box away, and it ends up in one of the kids' rooms, and they're cutting it out. It's this is the cat's new home.
Exactly.
Okay.
We did an activity last summer where at one of our camps, it's not a box, and they got to take a box and create it into whatever they, wanted to create it into. So it's cool to see their creativity. But, and then another favorite part is in the imagination station, we have pop-up exhibits. So on a weekly basis, we have a different pop-up exhibit that comes in. So those are sponsored by local businesses. So for example, last week we had the dentist office sponsored by one of our local dentists. This week we have the vet's office sponsored by Nestle Purina. So we're able to pull in sponsorships that way and highlight businesses for supporting us. And it gives children the opportunity to learn life skills while they're playing. If they're sitting in the chair pretending to go to the dentist, maybe they'll be less nervous to go to the real dentist and have their teeth poked and prodded. And kids love to do that. They love to pretend and take on real life roles and things like that.
Yeah. I was watching a documentary one time, and the guy was like, a kid can learn more by going to the grocery store with you than they can some days in a full day of school, or like some
those
activities.
life experiences go a long ways.
Yeah.
Well, and the research supports that kids learn through play. There's like a stat that says something like it can take 400 repetitions to like create a new synapse in the brain, but if it's done through play, it only takes 10 to 20 repetitions.
Nice.
So, I mean, the research backs it, and that's we want to create, obviously. Our main goal is that kids have fun, right? But all of the activities have the opportunity for them to learn while they're playing.
And you talk about the activities. How do the stations contribute to kids' development?
So, like I said, we kind of, sometimes it's specific. Like sometimes the light table will have literal numbers and letters at it, right? But other times it's things like in the sensory bin. This week we have rice and zoo animals. So it's kind of like a safari theme. So there's no direct opportunity for kids to learn during that activity, but we have what we call play prompts posted above all of our stations, which are more for the grown-ups than they are the kids. But so not only are we supporting children, but we're supporting the parents to engage with their child in that way, so we'll have question ideas like ask your child to count the scoops as they dump into the bucket, or ask your child how many animals there are, or what colors they see. Because I realize that as a teacher and then as a parent myself, you can, educated or not, you can be super educated and know nothing about child development.
Oh, yeah. No, like when I go to those science centers in different towns and whatever, I learn stuff about beavers and birds and, walk around. And it's funny because I'll see myself and I'll see a little kid and then I'll see an 80-year-old man all like looking at it the same way.
Yeah.
It's like the 80-year-old man is just as engaged as I am, just as engaged
we're
as a
always
kid.
a learner.
And we're all like,
Oh,
I didn't know a beaver did that. That's cool. I
had no idea.
Like we're all learning.
Exactly. Well, and we just don't know, like my husband, who is economic, business minded in a lot of ways, he doesn't know like what should I expect my 4-year-old to be able to do. And so we try to put some prompts up there for parents to be able to support their children in their learning. And then it also is great to engage socially. Kids need that social emotional environment to learn to share, take turns, solve their problems, ask for something. So it's also just a natural environment for those kind of things to occur.
Well, how do you envision the center's role in the broader context?
Yeah, we want, like I said, to support families to be empowered in their child. As they say, family is the child's first teacher. So we need to support families to be able to support the children. And so we hope to be a space that does that. Our postpartum play and connect groups is another space where those are more adult-centered than they are child-centered. Those are families coming in with, under the age of 1, typically more babies. Sometimes siblings come along, but it's a time where we sit around as adults and have structured conversations around topics. So we really want to be a resource to not only the children, but to families as well.
That's cool. Yeah, that's a neat idea. And I don't have little kids anymore. He has kids at home still, but I don't even think of this stuff anymore. It's been so many years since it was even something you thought about. But it really is important to have those people to talk to with kids your age. Start when you're young and get to know these other. You're going to see them for the rest of your life. So,
and this might be ridiculous to say because like my generation and above, we don't worry about playing. Like when we were young, like we played, but it's like, do kids like have to learn how to play now with the cell phones and the iPads?
iPads taking over.
Well, and sometimes, like I said, when I bring my own kids in, not only am I not distracted from the stuff at home, but when I bring my boys into the space at home, it's like they're asking to watch TV. They're asking, we don't even have tablets, but just the TV even. They want to turn the TV on and watch. Usually it's sports, but whatever it is. Whereas the Play and Learn Center, there are no screens in the room. So it's like it's out of sight, out of mind, and they just jump in and play. They have no other choice because that's what's all around them.
Yeah,
but
there's no tablets, there's no TV. You just kind of go in and figure something out.
Yep.
We had some new kids come to like babysitter kids, like kind of like a little interview thing. And they pulled in and then they came in and talked to us and they're like, oh my gosh, your kids are outside playing, having fun. And they both had babysitting jobs during the summer. And they said the kids that they watched were on, they called them iPad kids. And like the whole summer they like did nothing. And it's like, that is so sad.
Yeah, you need to get outside when you're little and
And to see other people come into the house and be like, oh my gosh, your kids like
Right. It's a
are
good
playing
reminder.
and
Yeah.
having fun and like making up games.
Right.
You know, like they just make things up.
Yeah.
And that's what you're supposed to do as kids.
I had a speech language pathologist once say to me when I was working at Butler that, it's a good sign when kids have skinned and bruised knees because it means they've been outside playing. She's like, the kids that I worry about are when they come back after summer break and their skin's not, cut up at all.
Pasty white because they haven't been outside.
Exactly. So I'm like, well, that makes me feel better when my kids are wrestling and fighting. And
I think I had permanent skin knees. And I grew up in the age where mom wouldn't let you in the house.
Right.
I mean, the street lights aren't on, drink out of the hose type.
Yeah, exactly.
So Super Saturday just sounds like a cool name. Tell us about it.
Yes, so those are kicking off this weekend. We started this last year. We got an idea from another community that hosts a similar session, but in the Play and Learn Center at the Wells Fargo building, we have the small movement station, but it's more for toddlers to move. It's not huge. And so we just don't have the space for kids to run, jump, move, get their built up energy out in the winter. And so last year we were able to partner with some area schools, and we're doing it again this year to utilize their gymnasium space to have that room to run, especially older kids. I mean, when I bring my boys in, it's like they're chasing and playing cops and robbers, and we just don't have the space to do that in the Wells Fargo building. So
how much space do you have there?
I would say think preschool classroom, but a little bit bigger maybe.
Okay.
It's similar to a classroom size.
Okay.
So that's an area that we would love to grow to a larger space at some point. But for now, the schools have been really gracious to let us use their space. So we'll be at St. Edmund this Saturday, and then we have some upcoming at the Early Childhood Center, Butler Elementary, and then we do still have one spot that we're hoping to fill with either another school or some type of gym space. So this weekend, it's all snow themed, the activities. So in the lunchroom, we'll have tabletop activities, some arts and crafts, Legos will be out, things like that at the lunchroom tables. And then in the gymnasium, it's just a lot of activities to run and jump. It's usually kind of organized chaos in there, but that's what kids love best.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Yep, the scooters will be out. We have a tunnel, we have a parachute, just basically room to run. And last year, the sessions were free. It was the first time that we did it, so we wanted to kind of work out the kinks and offered it as a free resource. We were planning to charge this year to just kind of help with our operational costs, but Cargill stepped up and was able to sponsor the sessions.
Wow.
So we are able to waive that and still offer them for free, which is great. So
Yeah, way to go, Cargill.
yeah, exactly. It's
So
nice to have those.
can you just show up, or do you need to make an appointment or call? Or
We do ask for all of our sessions that you sign up ahead of time. When it's me that's running the session and I'll be the one running Super Saturdays, it's not a big deal to have a walk-in. And even when I'm not there, but we do have a waiver system that people sign. And so it's helpful if you sign up ahead of time just so we can have all of that, the roster built and the waivers ready and all of those things. But we just have a sign-up genius. There's no cost to sign up. And they do fill up. We do cap the sessions just because in the Wells Fargo building, we can only house about 20 kids before it gets pretty full. And then at Super Saturdays, the Early Childhood Center has a combination gymnasium lunchroom. So it's a smaller space. We cap those sessions at 50, and then the other Butler and St. Edmund will be 75. So we do ask that you sign up ahead of time. There's just a link on our Facebook page.
that's cool that you can do it at the other schools and stuff too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just getting out and doing stuff different places. And
Well, and every school has different things to offer. St. Edmund lets us borrow the scooters. The Early Childhood Center has a rock wall and a stage. Butler has a rock wall too. So, to be able to use those different features in the gyms. And what we found last year and what we hope will continue this year is, it can be intimidating to go to a new space when you've never been there before. So, in the Wells Fargo building to park and to figure out where am I going, what door, second floor, what floor, all of that can be a barrier to families coming to try. And so we thought if we're doing it at a variety of schools, if Butler or if St. Edmund is my home school, I might be more likely to show up and give this a try because I'm familiar with the building.
I know where to go.
So.
Yeah, my kids didn't go to St. Ed's. Well, DeAndre did for a while. And going to preschool things never for Zeke now is just so different because I don't know where to go. I don't know where to go in.
Parking and
where do I park? And then I walk around the building and
just easier not to go. I mean, you have to when you're grandpa, but
Yep. Well, you talked about Cargill sponsoring. What are some other ways you keep it affordable for families?
So last year we applied for some local grants, the Community Foundation, Smeltzer and Deerdorf, and they were able to help with we budgeted for some free play cards. And so we had 500 free play cards that we handed out to every school and daycare that they could identify some families that would maybe benefit from coming to play or enjoy it. So that was one way that we wanted to, make sure that, our entrance fee is $4, which we feel is very affordable. It's pretty unheard of to do anything at that price these days. And that's for just children. We don't charge for adults, but the free play cards was one, and we'll hope to continue to do that. I
charge Todd double,
maybe triple.
We want to give those cards to people who need it. So
that's cool. Free play cards, a great idea.
Yeah.
What else do you do to let the public know?
So podcasts like this, excited to be here. We also partnered with some other organizations. So Webster County Conservation, they're doing sessions. We were doing park sessions, and we thought, let's just work together. So last summer we did those sessions together, kind of hit both of our audiences.
You could use that facility too.
Yeah, exactly. So we did. We hosted a few sessions there and hope to continue that partnership moving forward. And then with the city, we partnered with Parks and Rec. So again, just to try to dip into some different audiences there. Mm-hmm. We're always posting on our Facebook page. We try to post about 5 to 7 days of the week, but the algorithm's not always our friend. I don't know. So that's frustrating sometimes. But we try to make sure that we're, creating events on Facebook and things like that. And we'll continue those partnerships and trying to spread the word, because I would say that's still one of our biggest goals is there's people in our community who don't know that we exist, and we want everyone who wants to come play, we want them to know that we're a resource here. So
that's wonderful.
I love the idea.
I do too. I absolutely love it. I'm just sitting here and I'm engaged listening. How can the community members get involved and support the Play and Learn Center mission and activities? And
so
we already answered this.
Yeah, we are run by volunteers, so that's one way to get involved. But also donations. We are always open to donations that help us purchase. Like I said, we recently had a few new businesses support us, so we were able to open a few new pop-up exhibits, like the coffee shop and a hospital, bank. So just always trying to add new things. And then obviously we always need consumable items. I just switched out our markers today. Those get dried out pretty fast, so
gosh. Nobody put the lid on ever.
Exactly. Keep up with all of those things. So donations are always welcome.
Looking ahead, where do you see this going? Where do you see it in 5 years? You always hate that question, but where do you see this in 5 years?
So, it takes planning and things falling into place. But if I'm just dreaming, I would love to be in a bigger space. Like I said, to be able to offer more room to move. And also, I don't know, I'm sure you guys have found this, that we Fort Frenzy is the best, but we don't have very many other birthday party locations,
Right. No, we don't.
And so that would be a cool thing to potentially offer. Right now, we don't offer that just because I am the cleaning crew, and sometimes the thought of cake and we have carpet and all of
messy.
that. Yeah.
That's why we don't have carpet.
Yeah, exactly.
In the party rooms.
I know when we're going through houses, I just love when I see dining rooms with carpet, and especially like the older people, and it's like a white carpet. I just laugh. I was like, invite us over for spaghetti night.
Oh my gosh, that wouldn't last a day. Yeah.
And it's still clean. They never had anybody in that dining room.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, they had TV trays in the living room.
That's right. You're eating outside, kids. Go to the garage.
Exactly. This room is off limits. So just be able to continue to support the community in gaps that we see, and, continue to expand our offerings. I'd love to offer more, like a family engagement event. We used to do those at Butler when I worked there, where we would invite families in, kind of teach them a skill or about something about their kids, and give them some tools to, fight those 2-year-old temper tantrums or things like that.
Oh, yeah. Can you give us a rewarding experience that you can think of?
So selfishly, it's been really neat to see my own kids be able to enjoy it and make those memories with them, but also just the connections among kids and families in the space. So seeing, people get introduced to each other, somebody new to town who's coming in and getting acclimated. Fort Dodge, I've been really connected to the community just being here almost my whole life other than college. So being able to share those connections with other people, especially new to the community, has been great.
We'll have to start bringing it up when we show house, when we do tours. Yeah,
young families and stuff. Yep.
Your kids have to love that.
They do.
Like we have to get drug off to work with mom.
Right.
Like, this is cool.
Well,
some new people.
Well, and they usually only come with me on like the behind the scenes days when I'm switching out the exhibits and things. And so then I tell them all the time, like, because sometimes then we'll go and I'm like, okay, but other kids are going to be there. So like, there's no run and chase and jump in like you guys do when it's just you two.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's a hard reminder
And
to
I'm
give
sure
them.
they never run around and jump after you tell them.
Oh,
that,
right? Yeah. They're
Well, they
very
gotta-
good listeners.
Very good listeners.
They kind of think it's awesome. They get to be the first ones to play everything too.
Yeah. Yeah. They
So
do.
they
love-
do the first art project. They get to do all that stuff.
Well, and sometimes they, when I'm noticing that they don't play with toys anymore, I'll bring it into the Play and Learn Center and they'll be like, Mom, I recognize this train table. And I'm like, well, you never played with it at home. Now it's all new and exciting because it's here.
Now you can play with it here twice a week.
Exactly.
Now
New
you'll
location.
actually play with it.
Right.
One of the things we like to talk about, we're terrible at this, is work-life balance. Mm-hmm. How do you do that? Because it's a lot.
It is. So a welcome change occurred last fall. So after I stopped teaching at Butler and I was an instructional coach there for a while, then I worked remotely for a company that does professional learning for teachers. So I worked remotely for about 3.5 years, but stopped working for them this past fall. And so now I'm just staying home with kiddos and doing this and the joy of reading. So I have a lot more mental space. I mean, I don't know that my time has gotten any,
Oh, no.
but the mental space has been nice to have, to be able to dream. And, you just don't have time to do those things when you're bogged down on the day to day. So,
And have you noticed that you really don't have any more time? You
No.
just fill it up with everything else?
especially in December, like you guys were saying, how busy December is. It's like, how did I get all these things done when I was also working full time all the month of December? I don't know.
I went to school as an adult, and after I got done with grad school, I'm like, how did I have time to get through all this? This is silly.
It's amazing how fast you can adjust.
Every time this
but-
question comes up, I'd say I'd have a different answer every 2 weeks.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah.
Depends what's on your plate in front of you.
Yeah.
How sometimes this needs a bigger piece of your pie and it all balances out. You try to
Yeah,
balance
you
it
try
out.
to figure it out, and
Yep.
you have to sacrifice one thing for another sometimes,
Yep.
but you make it work.
You hope
yeah.
the next week that they'll balance back out a
Yeah.
little more equal.
Yeah,
Now,
sometimes it does.
You told us that you reached out to somebody that had something similar and how to get going on it.
Yep.
What would you give it? How would you give advice to somebody if they called you today?
I would say, don't be afraid to, as I said, shoot your shot, right? I mean, you never know until you ask. And so I've never been like, what's the worst that could happen, right? Like, I'm going to reach out. Maybe I'll get turned down. Maybe no one will respond, but how will I know unless I try? And then I think connections is just the biggest piece. And I think being as connected as you can is never going to hurt you. It's always going to, that's going to lead to another connection. It's just a waterfall effect.
So the fun center industry, the realtor industry, the brewery industry all have like a Facebook page with similar, other breweries on it or other
Yeah.
fun centers. Is there anything like this where you guys get together and talk about this is what problems we're having and solve it together?
There is. So like I said at the beginning, kind of like the Children's Museum, which we're not quite to that caliber yet to fall into that full-on category. But there are children's museum groups that, especially towards the beginning in that research phase, I was very tapped into. And I do follow, there's one in Faribault, Minnesota. Minnesota has a different kind of structure of how they go about funding and education. So they have something similar to the Play and Learn Center attached to all of their schools in their public school system. And so it looks a little different there, but I follow their page really closely. And so that's where the Super Saturday idea came from, because they're doing that in their gyms because they're in school buildings. So
That's cool. And you're not, it's not competition. Like the fun
Right.
center, the breweries, you don't want to share any private information with anybody around you. But if they're in Minnesota or they're in
Exactly.
Kentucky,
Yep.
you share all the information you can to
Yeah.
try to grow the industry. So that's cool. So tell us, I just got to ask, tell us about you. Tell family,
yes.
kids. You keep talking about them, but you haven't
Yes.
really told
Yep.
us about them.
So my husband and I are both born and raised here. Becker Florist was his parents' family business, so that's been a tried and true for a long time. They just retired and sold that, but that was a bittersweet chapter to end. And my family too, the Kirsten Clinic that my grandpa started was here years and years ago. So cool to have those family ties and continue on, making our own connections in future generations. But so we're lucky enough to have both of our parents here in town, which is wonderful. I don't know how people have kids and don't have grandparent support.
Oh, we have 7 grandkids, so and they're all within 20 miles. So
Yeah.
it's fun seeing them all the time.
Exactly. Yep. So, and we have 4 kids. Our 4th was just born this last fall. So it's been kind of a whirlwind these last few months of adjusting, but he's been a very easy baby. I'm not sure that the 4th has a choice at this point, but
No.
It's all
Our
good.
fourth was the toughest. So just so
Really?
you know.
Okay.
Oh yeah, the youngest
No.
is hard.
Ours, we started out with the baby that I don't think anybody would have kids after that. She was colicky. We did everything. And then the next one was better. And then the third one was great. And the fourth one, we didn't even know he was in the house.
And then by then, the oldest one can take care of the
Yes,
youngest.
the girls were like changing his diaper and
Yeah.
getting him ready for school. And
Yeah.
we'd be like, I remember one morning we're like, where's Isaac? And they're like, he's still in bed. And it's like, what? You guys always have him out ready to go.
Right.
What's going on here?
Yeah. It's fun to see their sibling. That's been the best part about Cal joining us, is watching all the siblings and how they each love him separately. And
Yep.
I was a little nervous about the 2-year-old, but she's very almost possessive of him. Like, my baby. Don't you dare look at my baby.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you for taking time to meet
Yes.
with us today and have this conversation.
Thank you
and
for having me.
For everybody listening, don't forget to like and share and get this out to everybody. It really does help. And I've said this 100 times on this show. This show is designed to let people see what Fort Dodge really is
Right.
without kind of the other noise that gets in the way.
Yeah.
So
Continue
That's
to
right.
build Fort Dodge, and this is just a great thing.
Yep.
Everybody who's got kids,
Yep.
bring the kids out,
Yeah.
play.
And
Yep.
check out our page. That's where you'll find our schedule and sign up, and maybe see you on Saturday.
that sounds
Yay.
good. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a wrap at today's episode of Talk Fort Dodge.
Stay connected with us on social media and join us next time as we continue exploring Fort Dodge's stories through the lens of 2 lifelong Dodgers. I'm Jeremiahjcondon.
And I'm Todd McCubbin, and this is Talk Fort Dodge.
This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital. Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market. Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarket.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarket.com. That's digitalagent@spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026. Or visit our website at www.spinmarket.com.